Welcome back to Underway Drifting and Dreaming as Jim and I are traveling on the motor vessel Cetus, a 48-foot Katie Krogan on the America's Great Loop. We are cruising through the 30,000 islands of the Georgian Bay. We are on the small craft route. It's one of the most beautiful in the world. I am looking as hard as I can to see a bear on the shoreline. I do want to see one, and I do not want to see one. The 30,000 islands really should have been named 3 million rocks. You just have to be very careful going off the small craft route. And you can see here the water is calm. It was a great night at Anchorage to wake up to this view. We are leaving Brown Bay in the Beausoleil or Honey Harbor area, and we are heading towards Echo Bay. And this day our navionics expires, and we have no cell data to go ahead and renew the subscription. We finally make it into the bay and get that taken care of. It took us probably about 20-25 tries to download that subscription. The 30,000 islands of the Georgian Bay stretch over 100 miles from Honey Harbor in the southeast to the French River in the northwest, and it offers many spectacular anchorages along the way. There are places where you can see out into the Georgian Bay from the small craft channel, and this was a nice day. The wind was not blowing across, and we had a wonderful view. Here's Echo Bay, and Jim stays in the small craft channel with the Cetus, and we're cruising in on the tender into the bay. You'll see that we're anchored, and then we are stern tied to a rock at the back of the boat. This was my favorite place of all, was Echo Bay. I had so much fun practicing my paddleboard skills. I finally learned how to get up on the board when falling, so I do a lot more standing up instead of sitting down. It was so much fun to go out and paddle. It's a gorgeous morning. Jim is still sleeping. I take off on the paddleboard and I explore this bay very well. It's just crystal clear. You can see fish swimming beneath you. There's beautiful flowers. I did not see any blueberries. I did not see any bears. Cygnus is at Henry's. We're heading in for their famous fish and chips. We arrived in Kilcoursie Bay and put the anchor down for a few days. We were meeting My Way 2. Mark and Beth helped us so much on navigation where to anchor, heading towards the North Channel. And a lot of advice was given. So here they are. They came back into the bay because their Navionics subscription expired and they were updating at this time, so we were just checking on them. And then we are going to go ahead and take the tender over to the town of Perry. But isn't that a beautiful Katie Krogan here? So in the town of Perry, there are seaplanes, and we just make sure we move out of their way. And we walk around the city. We went to lunch. Jim had a special restaurant he wanted us to try. I think it was Jamaican. And we enjoyed being in town most of the day. I think this was like one of the hottest days in the Georgian Bay. And we were walking, and then we had about a 30-minute ride back on the tender to our boat that was anchored in Kilcoursie Bay. We had an eastern fox snake swim right up to the boat. It is an endangered species. It is not venomous. I saw 2 other snakes while I was stern tying the boat, a little teeny snake and one that was about 4 foot long. Jim and I switched out. Regatta Bay is just a little cove, but the bay on the outside, the sailboats meet here, and then they go offshore to sail during the day. Jim took me on a sunset cruise on the tender, and we went over to Gillies. It was closed, and then we went by the Snug Harbor Range rear lighthouse, which was beautiful in the setting. Here we are just a few minutes before sunrise. We stopped at this little cove just to the south of Point Beausoleil Station. We put the tender back on the boat since we're going to run offshore a little bit tomorrow, or today. And we are heading to a marina. It's been like 9 or 10 days since we've been in a marina. The boat needs some attention. We still have a lot of spiders on the boat, so we need to scrub it down. That's just spider evidence. They're doing their job of eating the bugs. But there's just 2 cottages here in the point. As I'm walking around the boat, I'm walking into cobwebs. Usually I let Jim do this first. He's the sacrificial man to take down the cobwebs. So it's just a cute little cove. We came in yesterday. We weren't sure. There was a shoal right back. Let me see if I can point to it. I don't think I can. This, the opening right over here on the river. So I got in the tender and drove on ahead to make sure that it was more than 6 feet. And then led Jim in here. And then I went back and forth trying to find a place to go up against the rock so we could stern tie. But that just couldn't find the perfect place. So we just dropped the anchor here in the middle. And it was a little windy yesterday, about 5 or 6 knots. That's not bad at all. But it was a great place to watch all the boats that were going up and down the river on Saturday morning, or all day Saturday. So we will head out probably 2 hours. Usually we get started about 9:30 and head to the town of Britt. We are heading offshore at Point Ob Rail Station. There is a barrel that was used before navigation by locals, and it sat up here on the beach to lead the fishermen back to port. We say goodbye to Point Barrel and head offshore. We're very thankful that we put the tender up back on the boat. It would not be fun to tow the boat in the heavy seas.
First, get back in the deep water.
We're in 35
There's shoals
feet.
here, the rocks.
I see those rocks.
Rocks to the right.
So just the wind coming out of right on our bow. There's, I guess that's about a 35, 36 foot vessel. We slowed it down a little bit. He was lifted pretty far out of the water.
Right. See, we'd have to deal with this all the way through those narrow channels.
Oh.
I'd rather get offshore and have a little bit more rock or rolling here.
Oh, we have stabilizers, and we'll be in deep water instead of. Wind's blowing about 16 right now, 16.6, 17. Just being on the far side, you got Lake Huron and the Georgian Bay, and that wind just comes across and produces these wind waves. We left the choppy swells of the Georgian Bay heading into Baying Inlet. We're heading to St. Amant's Marina in the town of Britt. We have a 2-day storm coming in, so right now the winds are pretty low, but once we're at the dock, they kick up between 25 to 30 knots, and so we just hang out, and Jim does a major clean of the boat, scrubbing it down. It looks wonderful. Here the rocks are just beautiful, the landscape, the landforms, the beauty of boating here in the Georgian Bay is incredible. I used to tell Jim when there's rocks right next to the boat, he's staying in the middle of the channel, but I can see him off to the side of the boat, like 15, 20 feet. They're not in our way, but they're just right there at the water surface, size of school buses, and you have smaller ones. So we're going to cruise on up to the marina, and they do have a little grocery store, marine supply, that has everything that you would need. are heading out of Britt, back out towards the Georgian Bay. Our destination today is the Bustard Islands. So we're going to head offshore. It's very calm now. You can hear the train in the background. It's about 2 miles down the river. We are in the Bustard Islands. We're getting ready to put our dinghy in the water, or the tender. This is our anchorage. It's very quiet. We just had a small tender go by. Right there. There's cormorants swimming. There's a loon. Loons don't like their picture taken. They just dive right back underneath the water. Today I stern tied. I took my sup board in with the line, got up on the rocks, and looked everywhere for snakes. Didn't see a snake. I saw fish, but I will probably go swimming. We're in about 13 feet of water, and it stays pretty deep, right back to those rocks. Here, crows. Should be peaceful. And Jim and I had an extraordinary paddling experience. We sat and watched the eagles in the tree. We paddled all over the Bustards, and then we took the tender to the western Bustards to see a lot of the boats that were anchored. The rocks are just astounding here. We are coming into Bad River channel, and you're going to see the stone change from the gray rock that we've been seeing to the pink granite, which is really pretty. And these jet skiers are coming from Devil Door Rapids. We're going to go up here and find a place to anchor and then go out on the rapids. This is one of the most sought after anchorages for rapids rides in your tender. We are going to have 2 mishaps. I'm walking on deck and I'm just looking at the back of the boat, and I realized the tender is a little bit further back. When I went to tie it up, I noticed that the loop was incorrect on the bow of the tender, so I fixed it. I was in the middle of making it up. I never made up the line, and so the tender is going along our stern anchor line. The second mishap is going to happen as soon as Jim pulls away on the boat and the anchor drags with me on the boat and Jim gone. Our stern line saved us from going up on the rocks, so I was able to start up the boat, pull up the anchor. Jim got back on, and we had to re-anchor about 5 times until we found the perfect spot. Here you can see that we're off the boat and we're going to go enjoy the rapids. After 16 days in the Georgian Bay, we call it short and head to Little Current. We have a storm coming in and I want to be at the dock. I just need a break from anchoring. So we are going to continue on to Little Current, to the North Channel. Thank you for taking your time, watching our video, clicking like and subscribing. Jim and I are continuing on the American Great Loop, going through the Georgian Bay and heading to the North Channel.